Hello and welcome to my new series on this channel, Life Beyond Boundaries. I am your host, Dr. Yamini Rao, and here we have Anshul Singh, who is my loving husband and agreed to sit in this video with me. So thank you for that.
Of course. Do I have any other option?
So he is a financial professional with an experience of 10 years at global leading firms based in New York. He moved from India to US in 2016, almost 8 years back. So, and is also a budding YouTuber who also has a channel.
Trying to, not as good as you, but trying to.
Yeah, a channel which I'll link down below. And so let's talk about your journey of life. We'll talk about each other's journey and how did we end up here. So let's start from how your life was growing up.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in an army background. My dad was in Indian Army, so a lot of my childhood was sort of spent in army cantonments, being brought up in a very highly disciplined way of life. I used to go to army school, a lot of highly disciplined sort of way of teaching. You had sports, you had rules, and it was really structured and very sort of. And then I made a switch to army life when I moved to Delhi after my boards exam and studied in DPS Vasant Kunj for my 11th and 12th. Totally different culture, made amazing friends, great memories in there. And then I sort of pivoted and looked into engineering. I wanted to become a good engineer, especially in computer science field, because I felt like I had a great knack. I loved coding, programming, and in my class 12th I had taken C++ as a subject, and I thought like, okay, this is fun. I can code, I can build things, and it was fun. So I decided to become an engineer in computer science. 4 years went by, great experience, great memories. And then the last year, basically, I thought of, all right, I've got this sort of skill set in computer language and coding. Decided to opt for MB. I thought, okay, let's give it a try. What happens? Let's give it a shot. I gave the CAT exam last year at the college, and eventually ended up at IIM Bangalore, which was huge. Spent 2 years at Bangalore, amazing city, great friends, and just had a great time. The kind of exposure that I got staying in hostel and enjoying myself, it was an amazing experience for 2 years that I had. And then, American Express, I joined my first job, American Express, did my internship there, worked out of Amex India for 2 years, 2014 to 2016, and then 2016, again, call it fluke, call it chance, whatever you want to call it. I eventually landed up a job role in New York Amex office. So I moved all the way from India to New York. So yeah, a lot of great exposure, a lot of good opportunities in US, and yeah, it's been a happy sort of experience here so far.
What made you move to US? Like, did you really intend to come to US, or it just happened? You got an opportunity, you wanted to explore, and you just came here, and then you are here.
Yeah, I was planning to look for other job roles in 2016. Around 2015, I was like, I want to try something else. So I applied for a bunch of roles in India as well, some startups as well. And then there's this job opportunity that came up in US, and I was like, you know what, this will not happen. I don't think I'm that qualified enough to go to US. It was a big deal at that time. Obviously, you're this fresh out of college student.
So you had just 2 years.
2 years into the job, right? Like it was like, who's going to hire like a 2-year-old kid fresh out of college? So, but then here's the thing: like, you don't know what you don't know. You just go out there and apply, and then see what happens, right? That's been the mantra of the life. Like, take your chances. Let's see where life takes you. So, applied for the role, and to my surprise, I got shortlisted. Was asked to join for an interview. I had 2-3 rounds of interview. All went well. Some very basic questions were asked, which I answered very logically. It wasn't like very complicated sort of an interview that I had. And there we are, like the news was announced that, yeah, you've been shortlisted. And then it struck me like, holy crap, now I'm going to US. Damn, and now I do think, like, do I need to go? Should I go or not go? And then that decision-making process kicked in, because before that it was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Then I was like, okay, this has happened. Now you have to make a call. Are you going or not? So I think what was important at that time was like, okay, here's this great opportunity which is calling you. It's at that time it looked like once in a lifetime opportunity. You are this guy who's like mid-20s, fresh out of the boat, don't know much, working in US with people across different cultures, different experiences will sort of build your personality holistically. It will sort of make yourself such a better person when you go out there and sort of go through your own life struggles, and it will build you and make you stronger, right? So that was the process. I was like, okay, I'll go there, see what's out there for me, see where life takes me. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm super excited about like being in New York. It's the city of dreams. Like, who doesn't want to work in New York, stay in Manhattan, enjoy, like have fun, time of the life, mid-20s, like crazy times. So that was the intent. And then even from like a work perspective, I felt like, okay, now I'll be working with some of the smartest brains in the company, and learning from them both functionally as well as like from a leadership perspective. This will certainly help me sort of develop as a good professional. So that sort of made sense. And
as you mentioned, you did an engineering and then moved to finance, and which is a very common route in an Indian education scenario. And it's a very common thing for engineering people to go into masters, because that's where a lot of money lies,
right.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So that was something you also chose to do. So like, did you really wanted to do finance, or you just went for it because you wanted to like good money? Like, what was the driving force behind that?
Yeah, I think so. My decision of joining, like doing engineering, as I said, I was interested in like computer science and coding.
Mm-hmm.
I still am. I love to code. I took C++ in class 12, and then I felt like, okay, this is something where I could pursue and develop myself. When it came to MBA, I felt like, and this is my perspective, I felt like MBA will give me an added benefit, where now I have a bachelor's degree but also have a master's degree, but the master's degree is in some other field. So it's kind of like a diversification strategy. Okay, you've got a good skill set in engineering, you love to code, so you can do technical job, but if you do MBA, I think it'll set me up in the sense that it'll give me those tactics of how do you manage a business, how do you lead people, right? How do you sort of build businesses? So while there is one functional aspect of like coding, which is technical, there is also this leadership aspect, which is more behavioral and building a business. So that's more like a business side of the thing. So I've in retrospect, I will say one thing though, it's slightly better if you work for a couple of years and get some work exposure before you join a B school. In my case,
because you went out directly from engineering.
So I went directly from engineering college, fresher, directly to a B school, which was kind of nice. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you work for a couple of years, you have that sort of background knowledge of what's being discussed in the class. Like as part of our curriculum, we'll have case studies being talked about of certain companies, and we'll have class participation of, okay, what do you think XYZ person should have done in that circumstances? I think if you have a work experience, you can always go back to your sort of past experience and sort of have those point of view which you can articulate in the class. As a fresher, you don't really have anything to talk about, right? Like you're a blank slate.
So basically you are talking in theory, but you don't know how it works.
Correct.
So if you would have worked, then you would know how things work and what they're talking.
Exactly. So you have a more practical experience of how does it work in corporate world, and you can sort of share those insights with your peers as well. So in the hindsight, yeah, maybe like work for a couple of years and then see if you're fit for MBA. I think you will be able to do a better justice in your class participation and enlightening other people as compared to going as a fresher.
Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So after like 10 years of experience working in a corporate finance sector, uh, what are the like top 3 skills that you think any student can work on, something they want to build, or like the top 3 skills that you would build?
yeah, I would say teamwork. Teamwork is really important. In an organization, you work across part of teams. You need to be someone who comes across as someone who's got great sort of teamwork capabilities or qualities, because you need to build a consensus on certain decision items. You need to make sure your stakeholders are getting what they need. And that's how it works, right? Like you help your stakeholders help you, and that's how you sort of build up. So I think teamwork is really, really important. You need to have that skill set. I would also say having a great attitude, willing to learn. Having great attitude. I think in my sort of experience, I've seen people who are very, very knowledgeable, got tons of knowledge, but don't really share that knowledge, or are very sort of, I guess, egoistic about that knowledge they possess.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, gatekeeping, and so they don't necessarily share those knowledge. And so, sure, you have that knowledge, but are you respected as a leader then if you're not willing to help other people out, if you're not having that great attitude of like helping people out? So having that attitude of like willing to learn, sharing knowledge is very, very important. And I think the third most important aspect I would say, which has really helped me, is like being inquisitive, ask questions. The learning never stops. No matter how you've just joined the firm versus you've been like 10, 15 years, 20 years in the firm. The day you stop asking questions is the day you stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you are irrelevant. So you need to ask questions, you need to understand. And the questions you can ask from people who are below you in the corporate ladder, you can ask from people above you. So it doesn't have to happen that you only ask your leaders. You can learn from people.
Basically, asking questions
Yeah.
and willing to learn at all different stages.
Yeah.
Uh,
Team player. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So working in because okay, that's one different thing, because in some of the domains it is also like you don't need to be a team player to
Yeah.
be successful.
Yeah.
But okay, so in a corporate
And,
finance sector,
I mean, there are certain rules in corporate where you don't have to be team player, as in like you don't have to be, you just have to be like an individual contributor.
Mhm.
So you just deliver on what you get, and that's pretty much it. And those people also sort of are happy. It's your personal preference. I'm saying generally speaking, if you wanna like have a more fulfilling experience and obviously you want to do well in your corporate setup, being a team player is important, because corporations are like basically big teams, right? That's how they operate, so you need to be a good team player.
You said something about like fulfilled career, and that's what I think about a lot. Corporate jobs are in general, I don't know, somehow they are like demonized as 9 to 5 people who are not enjoying their work and they're just doing the work. While I have seen a lot of people who have a fulfilled career in their 9 to 5. They do other things for outside their work as well, but when it comes to a job, they are very fulfilled in their 9 to 5. But to have a fulfilled career, one needs to have it should make good money, of course. Nobody survives without money. And then it should give you a sense of purpose to some extent. So maybe what you're talking about, teamwork, in the sense, might add up to that factor, and which makes the whole experience to be fulfilling.
Yeah. No, I agree. That makes complete sense. I think each and every person has their own sort of, you mentioned about sense of purpose, right? Each and every person has their own sort of sense of purpose. Okay. What makes you feel good about going to office? Like what is the one thing that you want to come back to home in the evening and feel like, oh, I had a great day? what would be that? It could be, so for some it could be resolving a customer's issue, your client's issue, like you had a good time out there. For some it could be helping a stakeholder achieve what he wanted to achieve, like he was running into issues and you just helped him out, so you're being very helpful. The other, it could be a fantastic piece of presentation that you delivered and you felt really good about it. And so each and every person can have his or her sort of purpose or like thing that gives him him or her like a kick. So yeah, I think you have to find your own sort of purpose, like what drives you, what motivates you, and try to sort of work on that or improve upon that day in, day out, every single day, and that will make you feel better going to office.
So, what's your mantra for work-life balance now that we are talking about having a fulfilling life?
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, work-life balance is important. I think, work is part of your life, it's not your entire life. So it's important to make that distinction. My mantra is pretty simple, right? Like keep the day organized, time box things. So if you're working 9 to 5, wrap it up at 5 because you've got other things to look forward to, right? Don't delay things and prioritize your work accordingly. So, typically we follow like the 80-20 rule where 20% of the time is doing 80% of the work. So let's just focus on 20% of the time, get done with that 80% of the 80% of the work, right? So some of the ways you can sort of make sure that you're allocating your time appropriately and not sort of going beyond that 9 to 5 time, right? Just sticking at 5:15, and then make it a a very hard deadline that 5:30 you're out of office, right? Come what may, you've got life outside, you want to enjoy that, and make sure you stick with it, right? And so again, prioritization, time boxing, following 80-20 rule, that's some of the rules that I follow. And then weekend is fun, right? So weekend, just do what you want to do, like follow your hobbies, follow your passions. You got to make your time out, right? Carve your time out of the schedule. So try to do the things which kind of fill up your creativity or makes you feel better, right? So indulge in those activities which make you feel better on weekends. So that's how I typically do it.
You love to work, you enjoy your work, but that's not your whole identity as such. You derive a lot of sense of purpose from other things in your life, maybe your relationships, family, community, and all those things, following your hobbies, passions. So that does sound great. Moving on, my last question would be, despite all the work visa challenges that any expat immigrant person faces, I'm sure you would have faced similar challenges which we can talk about in another video. You see your career growth generally, like how do you generally map out things?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly tough. You mentioned about visa regulation. I think there are a lot of, especially in US, people would know, the path to green card is it takes forever. I think for me, especially coming from India with 2 years of experience, I was an analyst, which basically meant that I didn't have any managerial experience, which basically meant that the tier which I was allotted to when I was filing for green card was probably like the lowermost tier, which basically meant like 10-15 years of wait till you get your green card. So it's definitely frustrating, and a lot of people who are in the same boat, I know it's not easy. I think you have to. I kind of keep my professional growth separate from that. It's about waiting for the right time, waiting for the right moment, and you have to be present for that. You have to be ready for that. How do you do it? Well, make sure that you're building your sponsors in your corporate setup, people who are willing to sort of sponsor you when there's a job opportunity that's coming up. There are times where, there's a visa sponsorship that's required. Unfortunately, you won't be able to apply for it, but your sponsors can refer you to some other roles where other departments might have similar rules that are coming up. They don't require visa sponsorship. So, you stick to those rules which you stick to anyway, visa or no visa, which is acquiring skills that are relevant for the organization. For example, you want to develop your artificial intelligence, AI skills, right? That's a very hot topic. If you are up to date, if you are relevant in the market, as and when that opportunity arises, you will be the first one to be picked up, right? So focus on those relevant skills, whether it's functional like AI or behavioral skills of like managing people.
So thank you so much. Thank you for giving insights. I might bother you again for maybe we can talk about some visa situations, US visa. I have had my UK visa, UK working visa, and we can talk about all those things in some other videos. But for now, I know you want to go for a walk outside. So we'll stop this video over here and I'll see you maybe in some other video.
Sounds good.